Welcome in, everybody, to week one of the high school football preview show. But this week, it's a treat. I'm joined by Carl Prather.
Sure, a treat. This needs to be Christmas.
It's
every holiday. Yeah, Christmas morning, 365. Thank you, Georgia. I can't believe that I'm getting to be in your show, man. I'm being able to grace your presence. What did I do to deserve this?
Oh, my
wow.
gosh. Okay, well, enough about that, Carl.
Okay.
How do you think week 0 went? We're already into week 1. It's hard to believe. Fall football is already here. College starting up next week. Some thoughts?
Yeah, I loved our game of the week in week 0. You were out there at J.P. Kane Stadium. You were in the midst of all the crazy students at Hartselle High School. Shout out to Hartselle. Shout out to Austin as well. Great matchup. Give a big thumbs up to Hartselle because they came away with the win. Looking pretty good for Class 6A Region 7.
So speaking of the game of the week, we have a great game of the week this week. Fife versus Geraldine. Last year, Geraldine snapped Fife's 51-game win streak. It's a pretty impressive matchup. What do you think fans can expect this Friday?
Shout out to her with these stats and stuff out there.
I'm just trying to get like you, Carl.
Yeah, I didn't know you didn't be better than me. You mentioned it, the nation's longest winning streak, which is unfathomable to me regarding a team that literally has really played the most of their successful football at Class 2A level. Jumped up to Class 3A level, won a state championship in their first year in Class 3A 2 years ago, played last year there. Just amazing for them to have that run. But no disrespect to Geraldine's program, but to think that Geraldine would be the team that kind of knocked them off is a testament to head coach Michael Davis in his first year a season ago of doing just that. But yeah, this is going to be a great game. I'm excited to see Paul Benefield and his group this year as they get ready for this contest and back in 2A. Both of these two teams were in region, played last year in Region 3A or Class 3A. Now Fife is in 2A, back in their rightful home, and Geraldine remains in Class 3A. So interested to see this matchup early on for sure. It's Friday night.
And I had a chance to go out to practice earlier in the week and talk to both the head coaches. Check it out.
Early in the year, you don't know hardly what to expect, and we play hard and played hard last week in our jamboree. And of course, Geraldine's got a really good team, a lot of skilled guys, and just play hard too. So, it's a rivalry, and we're not in the same area or region this year or class, so it's always fun to play your neighbors. And
you can't take any team lightly, especially the teams that we play. You go in it and you just focus on what you can control, and that's being fundamentally sound and focus on tackling and getting off blocks and being able to block on offense.
The first few weeks of the high school football season, fans are able to see the level of buy-in of players and see all the hard work that they put in the summer pay off. For the Arab Knights, they have a tradition 4 years in the making. Head coach Lee Osmond talks about a special trip to Clayton, Georgia for a retreat, and I had a chance to catch up with Coach earlier today over Zoom, and he talks about how much this means to his players.
We go on a trip up to Clayton, Georgia. It's up in northeastern corner of Georgia, and there's a little cabin up there, and we go up there and we stay in the cabin. We go whitewater rafting down the Chattooga River. We take some cool hikes, and during that weekend we have a study on manhood, and we meet like 5 or 6 times during the weekend when we're not playing cornhole or hiking or going whitewater rafting. And we by the end of the week, we take our grand finale hike and we go up to Raven Bald. It's a nice hike, and it's got a beautiful view. You can see all the way to Tennessee and North Carolina and South Carolina and Georgia. And I give them, directions to come up with their team goals up there. So the seniors set the team goals. They bring them down off the mountain, let them come down off the mountain by themselves. And then I'm sitting in the school bus at the bottom of the mountain, and they come in and they hand me their goals. And so I take the goals, when we get home and we print them up, we put them up in the locker room. And that's like the 10 commandments, or this year, the 13 commandments that we live by during the season. Their first goal was to glorify God by the way they play the game. And, look, football is a violent sport, but I think within the rules, you've got to play physically. You got to play the sport physically, and if necessary, you sacrifice your body for the good of the team. And I'll tell you this team has really bought into that. They bought into that. I think too, one of the goals was we belong. and you know, we found ourselves in a region championship game last year. We were even found ourselves ahead in that game, and I think our kids just questioned whether they even belonged on the stage. And this bunch, I think, is going to be the one that kind of breaks that ceiling and busts through and does what they're, what's expected of them. And the reason I know that is they do it every day. They do it every day at practice. We practice the way we play, and it's physical, it's dangerous, it's fast, and they bring it every day. And sometimes that gets hard, especially when they get sore. Like this week, they were sore, and we had to bring up the point that, hey, everybody's sore. If you're going to play the sport this way, you're going to be sore for the rest of this season. For the next 3 months, you're going to be sore, and you got to deal with it. You got to just, that's why God created ice and the whirlpool. You hop in the whirlpool, you get ice, and you go. And so this team is bought in, and I'm excited. I wish I was telling my wife last night, I wish I could just sit back and watch this team and not with a critical eye, just be able to watch them. And I guess at some point after the season, I'll be able to do that. But I'm excited about this team. I'm excited how they play. I'm excited how they love each other. What doesn't motivate them is a hatred or a vitriol for the other team. It's what motivates them is the love of the guy standing next to them. And that it's evident how they play. It's amazing how they play.
So you mentioned that the group of seniors kind of led them up the mountain to determine these group of goals. Why was it important that you weren't there with them and it was just the guys that went together to make this list? Great question.
One of the things about leadership is, you got to make a call. And I admit I'm the leader of the team, but they are also leaders of the team, and I've got to entrust that to them. And for them to take that initiative and to come up with those goals, because they understood, it's going to go on the wall, and that's what we're going to live by. They've seen it in the past, and they know I'm not going to go off script. That's the goals that they set are the goals that we're going to push for, and they understand that. They understand that perfectly well. Like when they say we want to be the most conditioned team, about that 30-second gasser in the heat of the day, I have to remind them, say, hey, these are your goals now. Y'all chose this, and they're like, yes, sir. They don't complain. So it really is. They take the initiative. They have ownership, and that's the thing. They have ownership of our team goals because they drafted them, and it's instant ownership. And I'm, every team that I've had, they had ownership. This team, I think, especially from the leaders, from the senior leaders, I think they're not only willing to put the wall, to draw attention to the wall, but they're willing to hold each other accountable to the wall. And I think that's different when you have a 17-year-old kid willing to hold his brother, who's another 17, or maybe even an 18-year-old, hold each other accountable. That's when it really gets special.
So, with this trip in total, why do you think it's so important for, these, you talk about manhood, for these young men to learn this at such a young age?
Our culture has kind of demonized masculinity. And I'm not being critical. I'm just saying, and some masculinity is toxic. If I want to beat my chest and act like, be a physical intimidator just for the sake of intimidating, that is toxic. And that's not masculinity. Masculinity is strength, but it's under the authority of Christ, which means to love your enemy, which means to love those around you and to serve those around you. But still, it's like electricity. Masculinity has to have an element of danger. If I could compare God to something, I would compare him to electricity. Electricity is good. It's a great thing. It lights our houses. It provides light. It heats our food. It cooks our food. It heats the water. It does all kind of wonderful, wonderful things. But if you start messing with it, it'll kill you. right? It's dangerous, but it's good. And that's what I think manhood is. It is dangerous. It's strength, but it's under the authority of Christ. And that's, I think, what they need to learn more so than anything is that true biblical masculinity is going to be, it's strength, but it's under the authority and under the authority and under the guidance of Christ Jesus, who is going to say, love your neighbor, serve those around you, love your wife like Christ loved the church, and necessary, lay your life down for her. It's not being domineering. It's not being, the final say on everything. It's service. It's love. It's empathy.
I love that. So last question I have for you. I was at the week 0 game, and kind of like you said, being able to watch the team from the sidelines, there's something that stood out about your team. Do you feel like what y'all did this summer has translated to the field?
I think the summer trip does that. I think the summer trip builds not just a team, but it builds family, because, either you're going to enjoy being with each other, it's going to be the worst weekend of your life, and they really end up, by the end of the weekend, they enjoy being with each other. And at the end of it, they're like, God, I can't believe it's over, and that's just, I think, a testament to how these boys were raised. And I think it's a testament to those leaders that have come before them, because I think they saw how those guys acted, and they've just built on what happened the year before. I think they're in essence are standing on the shoulders of guys that have been there before and taught them and led, and now they're taking it to the next step and the next step and the next. It's kind of neat to watch.
Who won the cornhole tournament?
Oh, that would be myself and Coach Routon. We won the cornhole tournament, hands down. It was slightly embarrassing to those that competed with us, but I'll just leave it there.
Well, week 1 check for the digital show. All we need now is tomorrow for game day. You excited?
She's good at this, isn't she, y'all? Y'all need to look. If you got your phone, just set your phone down and just give her.
Just give me.
You want to give her? Come on, Gabe.
There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's all good. Oh, you're doing great. This was. I'm glad to be. Just a little old Carl, just gracing the presence of one Georgia.
I'm glad
champions.
you're here. We make a good team.
I just want to be like you when I grew up. That's all.
All right, we'll see you next week.